What is up, my fellow nerds? Welcome to Tales of Nerdia. Today we're talking about chapter 371 of Hunter x Hunter. It is finally back. It has returned. The hiatus wasn't as long as our previous ones, but I have been eagerly awaiting this chapter. Very exciting stuff in this chapter. You know, a lot of people excited about the return of the Phantom Troop. The end of the chapter, of course, that's what I want to cover first. You see at the end of this chapter that the King of Kakin is he's standing around these 14 caskets, basically. And if you remember from several chapters ago, once we got introduced to this parasite type Nen, and all of the Nen beasts were gathered around Kurapika and the other guards, it says there that it is the parasite jar ceremony, and then it says it's goo. And I talked about it a little bit in that video, but didn't cover the main aspect of it, which I'll read to you here. So, goo is the traditional preparation of goo poison involved sealing several venomous creatures inside a closed container where they devoured one another and allegedly concentrated their toxin into a single survivor. So when you look at that image on the last page, you see that all 14 of these caskets are focused on or are feeding, it looks like, aura into this center device, this device that's in the very middle. So there are 14 princes, and we had thought that this was going to be a battle between them, but it seems like the king is plotting for all of them to die and possibly create something from their bodies, or possibly concentrate their power into himself. There's a lot of different possibilities just from this image that we could theorize about. And I talked about this in a live stream. I don't think it was in one of my videos. I didn't go back to check, but possibly in a live stream. But when you look at everyone's Nen Beast, they all have kind of a singular design. They look like a single beast, right? But when you look at the king's Nen Beast, it has a lot of different components to it. And it looks like it could be formed from multiple Nen Beasts. And I'm not saying that I completely believe that theory, but it's just in the way that it's designed. It's pretty unique looking compared to the Nen Beasts that all the princes have. Man, this last page, I've been racking my brain about this, and, you know, is the king, you know, wanting all the princes to die so that he could somehow gain all of their powers, all of their Nen, flow all of their aura into himself. Once all the 14 princes die, is it creating some sort of new being within that center container? Or is he going to be the 14th sacrifice? You know, is he more concerned with his royal bloodline and passing on some sort of ability to the sole survivor? So will he be the 14th casket? There's a lot that could be going on here. And that was what got me most excited about this chapter. Now, I know a lot of other people excited about the return of the Phantom Troop, which is pretty cool. But we knew that they were going to be on the boat. You know, Crollo did say, wow, it's been a while since we gathered everybody together again, when he was on the phone with Shalnark. Kind of two things came out of the troop. I mean, just a general excitement. We get to see familiar faces, and I really would have liked to have seen one of the new members, because, you know, with the deaths that happened, maybe they may have had time to recruit new members. Kaluto only replaced Hisoka, so we still needed to replace Pakunoda and Uvo. So there's two members, definitely at least two members that we haven't seen, and the way that Hisoka said after he killed Kortopi and Shalnark, you know, 10 more to go, we would assume that they have already replaced Uvo and Pakunoda. Or at least one of them, if when he said 10 more to go, he was including Crollo. But I digress. I would have liked to have seen that. Maybe we'll see that soon, because clearly the Phantom Troop have a mission. They are trying to get up to the higher floors, and that's when they're discussing with these, you know, people, these mobsters, protecting the cafeteria, kind of charging people to get into the cafeteria. They hustle some information out of them, and they're going to try and get in contact with one of these mafia heads that are associated with the fourth prince, the third prince, and surprisingly, Lucidus. Like, Lucidus, I wouldn't have expected him to be associated with the mafia because his conversation with Basho, he was talking about how they could use specific herbs to help, like, drug addicts. So he seemed like a kind-hearted person, and usually when you think of the mafia, there is some sort of drug dealing going on as well, like, among, like, the lower ranks, right? So that's how a lot of them get their money. Turf wars happen, all this shiza. I didn't really expect Lucidus to be involved with the mafia, but apparently he is. And who knows what kind of mafia that is. But whatever. Just thought that was an interesting little tidbit about Lucidus. I think that also boosts his importance in this war. When I try to think of who's going to die next, I try to think of their importance in the war and how many hands they have in the pot. No pun intended with the whole ceremony jar. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. I wanted to talk about deaths at the end of this. Let's get back to the Phantom Troupe. They really have two missions, and that is to get to the higher floors, but also to hunt down Hisoka. And that's when we see Finks talking to one of these guys that they beat up, telling them if you see anyone over, I think it was 190 centimeters, you give us their room number. So while they're trying to move up in floors, also hunting down Hisoka. And man, just that intense look on his face. There's a lot of members of the troupe who are pissed, including Crollo. He cried for Uvo, but now it's just like straight anger and he wants revenge. But he had to have, he knew that Hisoka was around the troupe for his own means, but man, everybody's pissed off. So, now do I think Hisoka is going to die on this boat? No, I do not. Do I think more Phantom Troupe members are going to die on this boat? I sure do. Yep. And I'm not just saying that because I love Hisoka, alright? That's no secret. I definitely favor Hisoka over the Phantom Troupe, alright? I'm probably going to get a couple dislikes for that, but I don't. I appreciate Crollo as a character, but I am not a Crollo fan. I'm telling you all my favoritism here, just like up front. But that's not going to affect my predictions or discussion because I just don't. I think that there's more to Hisoka than just fighting the troupe and dying on this boat. I think he has just more potential for the whole story in general, which is something that I kept saying during the Hisoka and Crollo fight. If Crollo had died in that fight, yes, a lot of people's favorite character would be gone, but he could be replaced. The leader would be replaced within the Spider, and the Spider would live on. The Phantom Troupe would live on without him. It wouldn't really kill off a storyline, and if anything, Crollo dying back then could generate more storylines because there would be sort of a election or some sort of process to get the new leader of the Phantom Troupe. Would it be Finks or Phaeton or Franklin? There would be that little piece. But then also everyone would be after Hisoka, which was proven by the fact that now they're all after him because of the deaths of Cortupi and Shalnark. But on the other hand, if Hisoka had died back then, it would just completely kill off his storyline. I know he doesn't really have an end goal other than to fight people, but he makes every arc he's in more interesting, and he mixes things up. So killing him off back then did not make sense, and I don't think it makes sense to do it yet either. There's going to be more Phantom Troupe deaths, and probably what a lot of people are theorizing is the next one is Shizuku, because she had one of those predictions by Neon that she would die, and the Shalnark one, if you've read that theory, the Shalnark one, the prophecy that was given to Shalnark said that, like, by the third time he answers his phone, like, it's going to be the Grim Reaper kind of thing. and that pretty much happened, even though it was a long time after when Neon's prediction said it was going to happen, because each like little sentence or paragraph or whatever is supposed to be a week, something like that. I'm estimating. I'm not going to look up those things right now. But Shalnark's prediction, his prophecy, came true. So will Shizuku's come true as well? That's what a lot of people are predicting, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be either Shizuku or Bonolov. Bonolov? However you say his name. Because he hasn't gotten a lot of development. You know, he pretty much only had like that one part in the Chimera Ant arc when he fought. So, gonna be one of those two. There's so many elements going on in this succession war. I mean, is it part of the Dark Continent arc, or is this its own separate arc? Is a question a lot of people ask, and I kind of see it as, you know, just a giant chunk within the Dark Continent arc. When you think about previous arcs such as Greed Island and York New, I think you can think of this arc in that way, where York New City arc started with Gon and Killua trying to get more information on how to get Greed Island. The whole York New City arc is basically in the middle of the Greed Island arc, if you want to think about it that way, because the whole time they're trying to get a copy of Greed Island. So just an interesting way to think about it. And that's what this Succession War arc is we are going to the Dark Continent, but in the middle of it, boom, here's a giant chunk of content with a ton of elements at play. You've got the different mafias, you have the royal armies, the Succession War, of course, with all of the Nen beasts, and it's just the Phantom Troupe hunting down Hisoka, Jing and Pariston. And I'm wondering how much of that we're going to see before the next hiatus. I'm assuming we're only going to get 10 chapters. That's what everyone should expect. You should not expect any more. And if we do get any more before the next hiatus, then that's just all bonus. But I'm getting myself distracted again. I want to jump back to those 14 caskets. I honestly don't have much to say about the Phantom Troupe at this time. So let's get back to those caskets, right? As part of the Succession War, Kurapika gets the idea that, you know, there must be a lot of restrictions at play for such powerful Nen to exist, and for the Nen beast to be invisible. So, he has this idea at one point that maybe if one of the princes withdraws somehow from the Succession War or gets away from it, that would break the restrictions, and therefore all the Nen beasts would disappear. And I thought that was a weird conclusion to come to. Kurapika's mission is to somehow get Queen Oito and Prince Wobble out of the Succession War, but I just don't see that being a conclusion. It would be very anticlimactic. The fact that they showed this machine with these 14 caskets clearly feeding into something in the center, we're gonna have to see what it produces. You know what I'm saying? That would just be bad writing if we did not get to see what that thing produces. You can't just dangle that mystery in front of us and not reveal it. I guess I could see it being revealed in a way that, let's say, that was used in the previous Succession War, and then it's revealed that, oh, the king has this giant powerful Nen beast because of this machine. But honestly, I just don't see them putting that mystery in front of us and not revealing it somehow, and the best way would be for it to come to fruition, whatever the goal of that machine is. And just think of it in the way that Meruem in the Chimera Ant arc, they were trying to prevent the queen from giving birth to the king. Well, of course the king is going to be born. Did any of us think that the hunters were going to reach the nest in time, kill the queen before the king is born? Of course not. We're going to see what that machine is doing. Prediction number 1 for 2018. That machine, we're going to see what it does. They're not going to tell us exactly what it does, and then it doesn't come to fruition. We're going to see what happens with that. That's prediction number 1. Prediction number 2, who's going to die next? I think it has to be one of the princes that doesn't have a hunter protecting them, right? This could be Sale Sale, if he's still alive. I have a video theorizing why he may be dead. It could be Fugetsu. She doesn't have a guard. Her sister does. Her sister is being protected by Melody, Kacho. And Kacho is now the one under investigation because her maid is the one who distracted everyone for Silent Majority to attack. I don't feel like it's going to be one of the higher up princes either yet. Even though, you know, Benjamin, Camilla, and the 4th prince don't have hunters with them. But I'm going to go with Fugetsu. Yeah, let's go with that. Fugetsu is going to be the next one to die. Now, before I wrap up, 2 quick things I wanted to note was just Shimano getting a lot of character development. You know, I mentioned in previous videos that I don't trust her, but I think with Kurapika interrogating her, I think we could clear up suspicion of her. And she gets some nice character development with Queen Oito when they're talking about brothers and sisters, and Shimano, just kind of her history with the royal family, which was a nice thing to see. And then the second thing I wanted to point out was just Kurapika's, the way that he's teaching Nen, something we haven't seen before. Very interesting. I'm wondering if this is a technique he came up with or something he was taught, because we didn't see that technique between him and his master, whose name is escaping me right now, Izunabe. So we didn't see him being taught that technique, and once he has learned Nen, why would he really need to learn that technique? I really thought I had predicted before that Kurapika would use Dolphin-san like he did with Queen Oito. I thought he was going to do that to help awaken their Nen and give them that, you know, quick jolt, because they only have his timeline was 2 weeks, and that just seems so short. So I'm assuming that the goal within these 2 weeks is just very general control of their Nen and Gyo. I think Gyo would be the most important. That way they can see any dangers that could be around them. And that's where we're going to end the reaction for this week. Let me know what you guys think about these caskets. What's going to pop out of the center? Do you think there's more going on with the king than we're being led to believe? I mean, it's hinted pretty heavily that there's something else going on in his mind. But let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed the chapter reaction, throw me a like, and I will see you all very soon. Bye!